Hi everyone, it's Natalie and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing Gear Breakers. I am reviewing this book as part of the book tour hosted by Colored Pages. So I would like to thank them for giving me an arc of this book for this review. So in this book we follow two main characters. One of them is a half-human, half-robot who was raised in an academy in order to pilot what is called wind-ups. So in this world, there is this religion towards this mechanical robots. They're huge robots that humans have built and which are piloted by these human slash robot people. And essentially they are used to dominate all the surrounding areas. And so we follow one character who is a pilot, and our other main character is a gear breaker who is trying to help overthrow this religious entity which is domineering over everyone else who does not subjugate to them. And so the gear breakers essentially break down those giant robots. And so basically the story is about these two young women who meet one day, and essentially they learn that both of them actually share a goal. Both of them want to rid the world of these wind-ups and rid the world of this domineering power. And so it's about them learning to trust each other and figuring out a way in which to remove this powerful entity. So I rated this book 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really fun. I was immediately sucked into the story. Like, we start, and obviously this is not a spoiler because we essentially start with our protagonist who is a pilot waking up after the surgery that made her half human, half robot. And so obviously right from the get-go, I was like, oh, I want to know what's going on, what this is all about, why our protagonist is so against the people who raised her, essentially. And so yeah, that was one of my favorite things, that I really was thoroughly engaged by the novel the entirety of the time I was reading it. I was always very invested in the story. Something else I liked about the story, even though technically it's more depressing, is that this book is actually much sadder than I was anticipating. A lot of dystopian and kind of futuristic sci-fi YA tends to be a little bit more lighthearted, I guess, but this book wasn't at all trying to obscure how shitty the world these characters were living in was. Like, at no point was it trying to brush over how messed up it was that essentially a bunch of teenagers felt like they were responsible for fixing this broken world they live in. Like, at the whole time, you could see both sides. You could see how much they essentially found, in a twisted way, joy and pleasure from the adrenaline that comes from tearing down these wind-ups, but at the same time, they were dealing with the emotional toll of the fact that they're not just tearing down robots. There are people inside those robots. There is the half human, half robot that is piloting the wind-up, and there are also guards in that wind-up. So it's like these kids are murdering people almost every day. And so the book doesn't shy away from how horrific that actually is. And so I adored that. I loved that we had scenes where the characters were living through the thrill of just the action and of having purpose and of having something to do, but were also struggling later because they had to live with the choices they had to make in order to fight against this powerful regime of the robots. In contrast, the other thing I really enjoyed about this book was the humor. The author has a really good grasp on banter. One of my favorite things in books is banter. Half of the time, if a book has strong banter, I'm going to enjoy it. Like, I really won't care that much about too many of the other elements when the banter is strong. And this book had both incredible banter and those more heartfelt moments, so that just made it all that more incredible. So for a debut, I was like, this is so good. The other thing is that I also enjoyed our protagonists. I really liked the two of them individually and the two of them together. They had a slow burn romance that I was eating up, especially in the beginning when they're more in that state of distrust. I was eating that shit up. I was like, yes, I can feel the tension simmering between the two of them. As they got to know each other better, their scenes were just more wholesome and intimate in different ways, so it wasn't that simmer as strong. But in the early beginnings, I was like, yes, the yearning, the mistrust, the cautiousness. So good. So good. And as for the characters themselves, I loved our protagonists because both of them were full of so much anger. Like literally, as I was reading, part of my notes all the time were like, these characters are so feral. Like literally, these girls are just 100% feral all the time. And I loved it because we really do not get that many books where young women or women in general are allowed to be angry, not just angry, but furious. Like these girls are furious and they let out those emotions by fighting against the government in place. And I just adored that. I adored that because I'm here for the angry girl representation, okay? I'm so here for it. Please, more books with angry girl representation is what we need. Please and thank you. So yeah, overall, I really enjoyed this book. Like my one major criticism of it is that the pacing was kind of off. It didn't always feel like it was smoothly paced, but that would be basically my one big thing. Overall, I really enjoyed this book. I thought for a debut, it was really well written. It was really engaging. It had a lot of fun scenes. It had more emotional scenes. And the romance, because it took its time, was more rewarding and engaging. So overall, I would highly recommend picking up this book. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I look forward to having my physical copy to transfer my annotations to a physical copy. That's going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, I would just highly recommend it. Go check out this sapphic Asian sci-fi dystopian novel and just have a blast with it. Anyway, that's it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you would like to follow me on any of my social media, I will have the links to that down below in the description. But for now, see you next time.